Happy Monday, everybody, and thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. A very tough loss for the University of Arizona against the Oregon Ducks. What went wrong? Is there going to be a way to be able to salvage this? What do you do about the defense? We're going to talk about all that coming up. You're listening to Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we got a lot to get to this show. Well, we always have a lot to get to. Let's not minimize ourselves. But again, we got some issues that we got to talk about here, and we're going to talk about Arizona getting absolutely throttled by the Oregon Ducks. At this point in the season, I think a couple things are fairly obvious. Arizona's defense, Arizona's offense is much better. And we'll start there. Jayden de Laura is as good a quarterback as we've seen here in quite a while. He can move around. He can make throws. He can do pretty much everything that you need out of a quarterback. I think my one complaint would be is that the plays are a little slow developing. And it does seem like it's basically either a dump off or it's a long pass. It doesn't feel like there's really much of a middle ground right there. That is, that's a little bit of an issue. But overall, when it's playing well, when they're on the right cylinders, this is a pretty good team. It's a squad that can certainly do some things. The passing game is very good. And the running attack isn't bad. The offensive line has been okay. Honestly, like I said, you'd probably like to see a little bit more, maybe a little bit more consistency. But overall, I think it's hard to be upset with the offense. Give them a B grade. And on top of that, when you're looking at when you're handing out grades, you look at it compared to last year, and there's a massive, massive difference from last year. So that's certainly something if you're an Arizona fan, you got to be excited about. Now, as far as what it looks for next year, that's another thing. What exactly are you hoping from next year's Arizona team? I don't really know that. But offensively, Arizona should be good. I don't think that there's any doubt about that. Arizona should be good. But you're going to have to get bigger. You're going to have to be able to get bigger along the lines as well. But look at last year, what Arizona was starting at wide receiver and what it is now. You got 3 NFL guys in there. It's going to take some time, but overall, I think it's okay. The offense is, it's going to be more of a struggle for sure, but I think that this team will be pretty good. So we'll continue to talk about that. Now, as far as the defense goes, that's another story. And honestly, I'm not exactly sure what to say about the defense other than the fact that it seemingly is getting worse. And I think it's it's getting worse. There's no way around it. You certainly don't like saying something like that, but when you're giving up 300 yards on the ground, and honestly, teams are going in here, and not only are they getting 300 yards on the ground, it looks like an easy 300 yards on the ground. I mean, they're not struggling at all to get these yards. And, it's not like you're backed up or anything, or there's nothing really good from it. And I think as well, what you would hope before the season is that you could get guys like Hunter Echols, or you could get a Jalen Harris, or you could get somebody like that to be able to become a consistent pass rusher. Now, I think Hunter Echols has done a fairly good job of that, but again, it's got to be more of a sustained attack. It's got to be more of a sustained issue, and right now Arizona just doesn't have that. As far as, and it's hard to really be able to talk about what the secondary is or isn't doing, because quite frankly, if you're getting beat up and you're getting beat up at the front, it's hard to sit here and say, oh, well, they should be doing this, they should be doing that. And I think that's where Arizona fans are rightfully frustrated. Now, I watched this squad, and obviously Johnny Nansen, he's a guy that has high expectations for himself. I don't, not really breaking any news there, but he also, this is also a situation though where Arizona has to, what's happening defensively right now just isn't. It's just not acceptable. I don't know how you fix that though, because again, while Arizona is better, I don't know that the personnel is there right now. I also don't know who exactly you're going to put in. I don't know who is going to be that guy. And I don't know that guy's on the roster, to be honest with you. I mean, he might be on the roster, but I don't know that he's on the roster. They're on the roster. Now, at the linebacker spot, obviously Jerry Roberts has played really hard, but I think at some point you're going to have to start playing some new guys here, and you're going to have to see exactly what they can do. This, in a weird way, it's how do I put this? It's kind of it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, because you want to play the players that have been true to you, but at the same time, I think you also got to know that right now, those guys just aren't getting it done. Now, I don't know that I'm not singling out anybody, but there's no reason, again, that the defense should be this bad. Last year under Don Brown, it was kind of mediocre. And honestly, I think that's what people were hoping for this year. I think people were hoping that the defense would be maybe a little bit better, and that offensively, Arizona would be able to mount, a bigger passing game. And they've been able to do that for sure. But again, and we'll just go position by position. You look at the defensive line right now, and again, you got Keon Bars, you got Parashand, you got Jalen Harris, you got Hunter Echols. On paper, that shouldn't be a bad unit, because individually those guys aren't bad at all. And then you look at the linebacking core. That was obviously always going to be a little bit more of a question mark. That was going to be a problem that I think a lot of people didn't really know how to address it, because yeah, Jerry Roberts is good. I like Jerry Roberts. But at that other spot, there really hasn't been anybody that has been able to get in there and consistently be able to take that spot next to him. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. Right now, I don't know what you do. I'll be honest with you. I'd like to see a little more of Sterling Lane. I'd like to see, Anthony Solomon. There's obviously something going on there, because you would think that Anthony Solomon would have played by now. He hasn't played, but I think that it's really that simple. Now, where are we at then? Where are we at? Now, where are we at going forward? Here's the deal. In the secondary, I get what you wanted to do with the 4-2-5, but you also, I think, have to be able to have a little bit more of a. You got to have a little bit bigger personnel, I think, up front. If you don't have a bigger personnel up front, then that's not something that I think that you can rectify. Now, in the second half of the pod, we're going to talk about what Arizona can do possibly this offseason, because again, I think this is going to be more of a, this is going to be something that's going to have to be rectified in the offseason. I don't think there's the personnel right here to be able to make this one work, but who knows? I mean, again, this is kind of dejected because I didn't really see this happening. I thought Arizona could lose, but I also didn't think that it was going to be something to this extent. So we'll find out. Now, what does this mean going forward then? Jetfish last year did a really, really good job of overhauling some of the glaring units off at the quarterback position and at the wide receiver spot. You look at Jaden DeLora, again, he's not perfect. Nobody's saying he is. Get that. But he's been good. He's been a massive upgrade. I don't think that there's any doubt about it that he's been a massive upgrade. You look at the receiver spots and we've talked about this ad nauseum, between Jacob Cowing, between T-Mac, between Dorian Singer, Tanner McLaughlin, totally revamped, totally a much better unit. Now, when it comes to what you got to do, now you know that, you know what, you got good skill guys. You've got to be able to get bigger, and you've got to get more effective on both lines, and you got to get that in a hurry. Again, you're bringing in a lot of size. I get what Jetfish is doing. You're bringing in a lot of size, but you got to get some instant contributors. You got to get, and this isn't going to be easy for sure, but you've got to get guys in the portal who are almost the equivalent of bringing in a Jacob Cowing or bringing in a DJ Williams, somebody like that can come in and can instantly play, that can instantly step in and cause and be a contributor. And not only just be a contributor, be a guy that can be kind of a bulwark on both lines. Because right now, especially on the defensive side, they're just, I don't know if they're not big enough, they're not explosive enough, but whatever the case may be, they're just not good enough right now on the defensive side of the ball. You get a lot of people that are saying you should put in different players. Totally get all that. But I don't know that those players are on the roster right now. But that also doesn't explain why Arizona has taken such a significant step back on defense. And again, it's not like the defense was great to begin with, but that's clearly been a step back. All right. We're going to take a quick break here, but first, SimpliSafe. All right, here's the deal. The numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen SimpliSafe, home security, to protect their home. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. I know because I use SimpliSafe in my own home. And they protect you with cutting-edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. And here's why I love it too, because it's always there, it's available, and you feel like you've got somebody watching your back. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedoncollege. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for your interactive monitoring plan. And you can get your first month free. Visit simplisafe.com, lockedoncollege, to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. All right, we'll be right back with you. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right. One thing, though, that I think we do need to do is we do need to give Arizona fans some real kudos here, because Arizona fans showed up, and it was a legitimate sellout right there. Granted, a lot of them left, but you know what? When you're getting your butt beat, I get it. But Arizona fans certainly showed up, and I think they will continue to show up. But that is kind of an Arizona trade, and I think that's why people have been so always kind of disappointed in Arizona football just historically. It's because whenever something goes really well, think back to 1994 and the Fiesta Bowl, Arizona returns quite a few players, and okay, you're thinking Arizona goes into the next year, top 10 preseason ranking, and they go 8-4. Again, it wasn't bad, but they certainly didn't live up to that preseason ranking. 1998, Arizona goes 12-1, and you lose Chris McAllister, you lose Kelvin Evon, you lose a few other players in there, Jeremy McDaniel, but you return the overwhelming percentage of starters and guys on the two deep, and lo and behold, it did. Arizona goes 5-6, 6-6, something like that. The offense was great, the defense fell apart, and that's just kind of what Arizona fans have generally dealt with. So now going into this game, I don't think that Arizona fans should have expected a victory, but I think you also wanted to see a better performance. And I think that to me is the problem, is that Arizona fans at this point feel like, all right, well, you know what? I bought in, you're 3-2. it's okay if you don't win, but just don't absolutely get throttled out there. And quite frankly, Arizona got throttled out there. And I think what's even more dispirited about it too is that it looked like Oregon could have run for 10,000 yards if they wanted to in that game. And I'm barely even kidding about that. That's the way that it looked. So, there's not really anything positive you can take from this game, other than the fact that hopes have obviously gone down. You got Washington coming up. Now, you could say that Arizona's got a chance against Washington, and you could say that the reason they got a chance against Washington is because Washington has certainly come back to earth. They have not looked good. I don't really know other way to put it. They have not looked good. They lost to ASU. They made Marana quarterback Trenton Bourguet look like Joe Montana. It wouldn't surprise me if Arizona is actually competitive in this game. Not saying they're going to win, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. And if you win that game, then all of a sudden you become a little bit more interesting. But that's obviously a long ways off. Now, if you were thinking to yourself, you know what? I'd like to bet. I'd like to put a little bit of money on this. There's only one place you would go, and that's the BetOnline Sportsbook. We've talked about this before, but there's no other place that you want to be. It's the BetOnline Sportsbook, and that's it. It's easy to navigate. I get a lot of people that ask me and say, you know what? I don't really like sports books. I like the theory of it, but you know what? It looks confusing. BetOnline is where it's at. You hop in there and you can get all kinds of future deals. You can get props. You can get, you name it. BetOnline Sportsbook has it. Check it out. All right. We'll be right back with you. We're going to wrap this up and get you ready for a little bit of Arizona basketball coming up here. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now, Arizona foot, it's always kind of a joke, when Arizona basketball hits, that's like when people tune out Arizona football, but it also shows you, too, that I think Arizona football has been a little bit better than people thought because you didn't hear those cries as early as you normally do. Generally, you hear that and you hear those ones pretty early that, okay, when's Arizona football get here? Or excuse me, Arizona basketball. That hasn't happened until now, but we're here. So it's going to be fun. Again, Tommy Lloyd has breathed in a breath of fresh air, I think, to a program that absolutely needed it. He needed Arizona after the Sean Miller era, where it was kind of this brutal, just kind of game after game after game beat down. You needed something new. And I think right now, Arizona's in good shape because Tommy Lloyd has the look of somebody who is going to, he's going to be a lifer. He understands basketball. He understands what Arizona is, but more so than anything, I think he also understands having fun. How many times would you watch Sean Miller and it just looked like he was miserable out there? And some guys just don't look like they're having a good time. Sean Miller never looked like he was having a good time out there. Tommy Lloyd, it's kind of the exact opposite. Tommy Lloyd looks like he's having a good time out there, and that's a good thing. You're the head coach of a big basketball program. You should be having fun out there. Now, the bigger part, though, is that he's brought in a very aesthetically pleasing passing attack that reminds a lot of people, honestly, of the Lute Olson days where Arizona got up and down. You know what? We got better players, and we're going to flex that out there. I always think back to what Tommy Lloyd said when, you know what, we're going to run the ball, run the ball. We're going to run mainly because it's the best way to win, not because it's the best recruiting method. It is a good recruiting method, but it's the best way to win basketball games. So that's where you're at, though, with Arizona basketball. All eyes are on Tommy Lloyd. He's obviously pressed every button in the right way so far, and it's going to be fun to be able to watch him in year 2 and see how Arizona does develop. Okay. So obviously, tough loss for Arizona, but, we're in the middle of football. We're in the middle of basketball. And we're going to be up with you every single day going forward here. So, as always, really appreciate you listening to Locked On Wildcats. Have a great rest of your Monday. Again, we're on up every day. Tomorrow, we're going to have a full preview of everything to expect coming up for Arizona basketball. You've been listening to Locked